Me, 18 male, and my boyfriend, 18 male, are being treated like our relationship isn't real because we're young. Our parents won't trust us to travel or even share a room. How do we prove our love and maturity when no one believes us? When my boyfriend first told me about this vacation next year, I was genuinely so excited. It felt like a big deal. Our first real trip together. He personally invited me, and we've been talking about it for months like it was already set in stone. Then, out of nowhere, some details came up that honestly changed everything. Apparently, it's not even his family's trip. It's one of his dad's coworkers' trips that his family was simply invited to tag along on. At first, I thought that was no big deal, just extra people, right? But then I found out that his sister, who's older and lives with her boyfriend, was also invited. They're both paying for themselves and have their own room. The difference is that his parents are only covering the cost for his dad, his mom, and him. That part kind of stung. He's 18, I'm 18, and yet somehow I'm extra baggage just because I wasn't part of the original invite list. The part that gets me is how they said it might be tricky adding me now. The cruise isn't even until next year. There's literally a full year between now and when it happens. I've been on plenty of cruises before, and I know how it works. As long as there are still rooms available, most cruise lines let you add passengers just a few months out.
So a year?
That's practically forever in booking time. I can't help but feel like if they wanted to make it work, they could. Still, I'm trying to stay calm about it. If it ends up not working out, I'll accept it. I just hope it's because of logistics, not because they don't want me there. I really want this to be one of those things where we can handle it with maturity, understanding, and communication. Like, okay, it's not possible this time.
Fine.
We'll plan another trip down the line that actually works for both of us. Then there's the money side of it. That's the part that's honestly overwhelming. The cruise ticket alone would cost around $2,000, and by the time I add flights, spending money, and everything else, it could easily total $7,000. That feels like such a huge amount for one person, especially when I think about how many trips I've been on with my family that never even came close to that. My parents already pay for my university, which is ridiculously expensive, while his parents don't have to worry about tuition since he's in community college. I don't expect my parents to pay for everything, but it's not like they haven't helped with travel before. They have tons of travel points for flights and hotels. If they use those to cover just the flight, I could probably swing the rest. The only potential roadblock is them worrying about me traveling alone, which honestly feels hypocritical. My brother studied abroad in other countries completely on his own when he was my age or younger. I've traveled plenty, too. Cruises, long drives to other states, flights to other countries. I'm not some naive kid who's never left home. I'm an adult now, or at least that's what everyone keeps telling me. And yet somehow, I feel like no one's actually willing to treat me like one. I live on my own for college, I manage my finances, I do well academically, I'm responsible. I've had to grow up fast, and I've never once given anyone a reason to doubt my judgment. You'd think that would count for something. You'd think my parents and his would see that and trust me. But somehow, when it comes to this trip, that respect just disappears. I get it to a point. Parents don't love the idea of their kids sleeping in the same room with their partners. It's awkward, uncomfortable, and kind of forces them to face the fact that their kids are, well, not kids anymore. I understand that. But what stings is the double standard. His sister and her boyfriend are sharing a room on this same cruise, and no one blinks an eye. They're older, they live together, and everyone just accepts it. Apparently, that makes it okay. But for us, it's like we're too young, too new, too unserious to be treated the same way. And I can't help but think, how is that fair? Age and time don't automatically define the depth of a relationship. You can be together for 5 years and still be toxic or disconnected. Time doesn't make love more real. Connection does. The way you communicate, the way you show up for each other, the way you work through hard moments, that's what makes something solid. Me and my boyfriend have already gone through rough patches that most people our age would have crumbled under. We've had disagreements, miscommunications, even moments where we weren't sure what would happen next, but we've always come back to the table. We've learned to be patient, to listen, to own our mistakes, and to grow together. We've proven that our connection isn't just teenage infatuation or some honeymoon phase fantasy. It's something we've built, piece by piece, with intention and care. And that's what gets to me. Everyone assumes that because we're 18, this must just be young love, something sweet, fleeting, naive. But it's not like that. It's not blind or impulsive. It's deliberate. Before we even started dating, we spent months talking every day, all day, getting to know each other on a deep level. We went on dates, shared our fears, our dreams, our pasts. I didn't rush into saying I love you. In fact, I told him not to say it until he really meant it. And when I finally said yes to being his boyfriend, it wasn't because I was desperate for love, it was because I knew it was real. So when people treat us like we're just playing house, like we're too young to know what commitment feels like, it hurts. Because we do know. We're figuring out adulthood, love, and everything in between together. That should be seen as something good, not something to be dismissed. Personally, I've never been the kind of person who dates just to date. I don't do casual just for the sake of having someone around. When I decide to be with someone, it's because I see something real, long-term potential, shared values, emotional depth. I've always been intentional about who I give my time and energy to. So when I met my boyfriend, I didn't walk into it blindly or for fun. I knew what I wanted, a genuine connection with someone who shared the same goals, morals, and sense of purpose. That's why, even now, I feel so secure in our relationship. It's not a placeholder or a fling. It's a foundation I actually see a future in. That's why it hits hard when people, especially parents, dismiss our relationship as something temporary, naive, or immature. When they say we're too young to understand love or that it's just a phase, it doesn't just sting. It feels belittling. Because I do know what love is. It's patience, effort, compromise, and communication. It's showing up even when it's uncomfortable. And it's not something I take lightly. I understand that they care. I know it all comes from a place of wanting to protect me. But sometimes their version of protection just feels like control dressed up as concern. It's like they already made up their minds about who we are and what our relationship is without ever trying to understand it. If they really had doubts or concerns, I'd rather they just be honest about it instead of giving vague answers and stonewalling every time I ask why. For instance, when my mom told me, "This is a traditional household," I tried to ask her what that actually meant. Was it about religion, culture, morality, boundaries? But instead of explaining, she just kept saying no. No to sleeping in the same room. No to sharing a bed. No to even talking about it further. It was like hitting a wall. I respect tradition. I really do, but tradition can't be the only justification for every decision, especially when it's so selectively applied. We're not even a traditional couple to begin with. We're two men. There's no neat little rulebook for that dynamic in most people's version of tradition. It feels hypocritical sometimes, like when I've shared a bed with my female friends on group trips or sleepovers, nobody batted an eye. Because, of course, that was innocent. But suddenly, when it's my boyfriend, it becomes an issue. As if love between two men automatically has to be policed. It's frustrating because at the end of the day, we're adults. We're responsible for our own actions and choices. And even if we were intimate, that's our business. It's part of being human, part of growing up and learning boundaries for ourselves. Trying to pretend it doesn't exist or forbidding it altogether doesn't protect anyone. It just creates shame, secrecy, and resentment. If they're worried about safety, responsibility, or emotional readiness, then say that. Start a real conversation about it. Don't just shut it down with a no. I'd rather they trust me enough to believe that I can make smart, informed decisions than treat me like I'm incapable of handling my own life. I've proven I'm mature, that I can handle independence, live on my own, study hard, and maintain a healthy relationship. What more do I have to do to earn that trust? His parents did make one thing clear. They don't want to think about their child having sex, especially not under their roof. And honestly, I can respect that. I get it. No parent wants to picture their kid in that context, and that's a fair boundary when it comes to their own home. But when we're both adults, outside of that environment, I feel like there should be more trust, more respect for our ability to make responsible choices. It's not about rebellion or trying to push limits. It's about being treated like the mature individuals we've both worked hard to become. Intimacy is inevitable in any serious relationship. Our parents know that. They've even said as much, acknowledging that it's going to happen sooner or later. But if that's the case, wouldn't they rather it happen in a safe, loving relationship with someone they know and trust, rather than assuming we'll end up being reckless? It's frustrating because we're not like the stereotype people love to attach to young adults, hooking up randomly, being careless, or making impulsive choices. We're thoughtful. We communicate. We care about emotional safety just as much as physical. And, honestly, being a same-sex couple removes a lot of the traditional concerns that parents tend to obsess over. There's no risk of pregnancy, and we're careful and educated about protection and health. It feels like people still apply the same fears they have for straight relationships onto ours without acknowledging that the dynamics and the risks are completely different. If I were a parent, I'd much rather know my son or daughter was with someone who genuinely loves and respects them, someone they trust and communicate with, instead of pretending that the safest path is total abstinence or secrecy. Because that's not how the real world works. That's why communication is everything. I'm not a parent, so I don't fully understand that perspective, but I do know what it feels like to want to be heard, to want to be treated like my voice and feelings matter. If there's hesitation or worry, then talk to us. Don't just say no and leave it at that. If the real issue is that our families don't know each other well enough yet, that's something we're already working on. We want to fix that. We want our parents to feel comfortable and connected. My boyfriend is naturally outgoing. He's great with conversation, always charming and easy to talk to. I, on the other hand, have to really push myself. I'm more shy and reserved, but I've been trying to step up and engage more. Because I know it matters. We've talked about being more present, showing up for family dinners, celebrating holidays together, visiting without it feeling forced or intrusive. I've always admired how my brother and his wife used to alternate holidays when they were dating, and even now that they're married, they still do it. It's such a healthy balance, showing respect to both sides while still nurturing their own relationship. That's part of why we've been planning this NYC trip for our December break. It's something small, but it's meaningful, a way for us to create experiences together while being thoughtful and organized about it. We've built a detailed itinerary, made a checklist, budgeted everything down to transportation and meals, and even planned backup dates in case something comes up. We're doing this right. We're trying to prove, not just to our parents, but to ourselves, that we can handle things responsibly. We're doing all of this, not just for ourselves, but to show both our parents that we can actually handle things on our own. That we're capable, responsible, and mature enough to make choices together, without everything being second-guessed. Because at the end of the day, isn't that the whole point of a relationship? To grow, to build something that feels like family? Before my brother's wife officially married into our family, she was already treated like family. My parents welcomed her with open arms, invited her to everything, respected her, trusted her. That kind of acceptance wasn't based on how long they'd been together, it was based on effort and the way she showed she cared. I guess that's what I want for me and my boyfriend too. Not instant approval, but at least the chance to earn that same trust. What frustrates me is the idea that we have to wait until we're in our 30s, like our siblings were, before anyone takes us seriously. That feels controlling. Time shouldn't be the only measure of commitment. Effort, devotion, and consistency matter more. You can date someone for 5 years and never build real trust, or you can meet someone and within months, realize you've found something genuine, stable, and worth protecting. We're already showing that effort now. We plan, we communicate, we show up for each other. We're not reckless, we're intentional. If our parents want to see proof that we're serious, we're ready to show it, but they also need to be open enough to actually see it, not just dismiss it before it even begins. It's not that I don't understand their perspective, I do. I know their fears come from love and protection. But love also means letting go a little. Trusting that you've raised your kids well enough to make their own choices, even if they sometimes make mistakes. Because that's how people grow, by learning, not by being shielded forever. Sometimes it feels like we're doing everything right, but no one's actually looking close enough to see it. We're not asking for full freedom with zero accountability, we just want to be heard, to be understood. I get that we're only 18, and yes, we've only been dating for a little over 3 months, but we've known each other for more than half a year. We didn't rush into things. We built this connection slowly, with intention, with honesty. And still, no matter how much we try to explain that, people love to dismiss it. They say, it's your first love, it's not real, or you're too young to know what you want, or this is just the honeymoon phase. We've heard it all, but it hasn't changed how we feel or how we treat each other. If anything, it's made us stronger, more grounded in what we believe in. Because to me, that's what's unfair. The assumption that love at 18 can't possibly be mature or lasting. That it's something temporary, shallow, or naive. But the truth is, we're not trying to prove that we're perfect or that this will last forever. We're just trying to prove that what we have right now is real, meaningful, and worth taking seriously.